Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, yeah, so we're going to go through the dailies, but this time it's with Mr. Dayo Akintobi, who is the publisher of TSN newspapers. Good morning and good to see you again today.
A very fine morning to you all and to our viewers.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the Guardian newspaper today. I mean, so much, well, it could almost be the same kind of narrative.
I sincerely hope not.
Well, we will see, unless something dramatic has happened that will suddenly turn it around. But look at what the Guardian leads now. Let's start with that, shall we? All right, so there we go, the big one on the front page of The Guardian here today. State governments face historic liquidity crisis. Wow. Look at the writers now. Plan to spend 86% of yearly total revenue on recurrent bills. Withdrawal of CBN's budget support threatens survival. Some states can't pay debts in 50 years, says Oba. And then you see, trying to see that now. During warns of what? Impending social unrest. Wow. But this is, I mean, look how to describe it. Historic liquidity crisis. Oh boy. So, did you see this in any way coming?
Yes, from the moment the NMPC declared that it wouldn't really have any money to give to FAC this month, we knew the states would be in trouble because automatically that dwindles the amount of allocation that will accrue to each state. And we all know that they've accumulated debts over the years. They've got major recurrent expenditures. So when their allocation, and many of the states have not done very well in terms of generating internal revenue. I guess this system of going on your knees every month to Abuja to plead for some funding has made states not get creative with generating their own revenue. So most of them have begun to rest on their laurels and depend solely on their monthly allocation. So when this kind of thing happens, where the allocation starts to dwindle, of course, the states now get caught in a cash crunch, which is what this liquidity crisis is all about. What has now compounded the issue is the central bank is now saying, the bailout we gave you, you need to start paying it back. Now, even without them paying that back, they already don't have enough money to meet their needs on a monthly basis.
But would you say that CBN's decision was based on economic decisions, or there were political economic considerations?
Well, you have to remember that when the bailout was given to begin with, it was made clear that it was not a grant. It was due to be paid back. And the CBN did its own calculations on the basis of expectation of this money being paid back within a certain window. So I think it's more of an economic consideration. But if you look at the timing with the issue of when this notion of, oh, they printed 60 billion last month.
And then what the CBN governor said, so in that case then, we're going to insist on collecting this.
Yes, exactly.
So it means that before that time, it was a little flexible.
Yes.
And much after then it became stiffer.
Well,
so can one then say it was purely economic or political economic?
Yeah, there's some political coloration to it, but then at the same time, if you're going to malign me and make claims about certain things that I don't think I did, then I will come out swinging as well and try to defend my own integrity.
But does the CBN then think that, look, they have these funds, they can't pay? Or what?
That's not the issue. When you ask for help, and you're given that help, you ask for it on the basis of your ability to repay. So it's not an issue of whether they have to pay the money to pay or not.
No, right now it is, because look at that, historic liquidity crisis.
Yes.
So if they say they don't have these funds to pay, and they insist on getting the funds, but who suffers for it is still Nigerians.
Well, yes, at the end of the day, there's going to be an imbalance somewhere, because if the imbalance is not on the states, the imbalance will be on the CBN. So either way, Nigerians are going to suffer anyway, because that imbalance is going to come out from one pocket or the other.
What does that then mean for so many other things that, you know, states are expected to do? On the one hand, don't forget that we're still having issues of minimum wage that the states are said to be struggling with. IGR is dwindling across all states, and now this.
But
Well, we knew the pandemic was going to have deleterious effects on the economy.
But this was before the pandemic started.
I know, but the pandemic exacerbated that. But the point is, we've known all along that there's going to be some sacrifices and there's going to be some pain to be felt. How you manage that dislocation is now the issue that we need to interrogate properly.
All right. Well, look at the other one here. Major reversal growth trajectory hits telecom industry. Whoa. And then that's the one you see right at the bottom screen of The Guardian, as you see that right there. Sector loses 12.1 million subscribers in 5 months. Broadband penetration drops by 3.84% as 6 million Nigerians lose internet access. Future GDP growth contributions look bleak. Stakeholders foresee faster recovery. So, you know, this is a sector that you thought was always going to grow. And now, this. So what's going on? On all fronts, we're being hit with one challenge, one loss, or the other.
Yes, that's a function of the times in which we live. You can't expect telecoms to be continue to have a growth trajectory
the banks,
while
the banks did that.
And they did that with the cooperation and assistance of the telecoms industry.
Yes, but you have to recognize the fact that many Nigerian banks don't practice traditional banking anymore. The things they do to make money are not taking savings at low interest rates and lend them back out at high interest rates and make a profit off the spread. They do things like forex and round tripping and all these kind of funny things that yield astronomical profits. So you can't use the banking industry as a benchmark for the health of the economy in general.
Yeah, but don't forget that, you know, we always talk about the work, the impact of the telecoms industry, of technology on growth, on economic growth in the country. So most certainly something to consider, wouldn't you say?
Well, there are always cycles, and I think the telecoms industry reached a peak several years ago, and we started to see that flattening out because they've reached a level of penetration in terms of affordability of the masses. They reached that about 10 good years ago, and so it has plateaued over time and is now starting to fall, which is normal in the economic life cycle of any sector.
But don't forget, I think some of these were affected by the decision by government at the time to stop issuing SIM cards, and so I think there was a lot of challenge.
Yeah,
those who couldn't register their name, so
yes, but
it might have had some impact.
Yes, it had some, but not as big as the drops being recorded. If you look at it and you look at the period of time, the trajectory has been going down. That window of 3 to 6 months where they weren't issuing anything, the number of new acquisitions that would have occurred within that time is relatively infinitesimal.
I'm not going to ask you I'm not going to ask you to respond to this, but don't forget that broadband penetration also dropped. Has that got anything to do with that? Don't answer that one right now. Let's go to another angle of business now, and it's the Daily Trust newspaper taking you to Ghana. Says 5 months after bilateral talks, Nigerians' shops remain shut. In Ghana, 40 more businesses closed. And the federal government says we're working with our people. And traders in Ghana say we beg to feed.
I've never really understood that from when it happened initially about a year ago when this furor initially blew up. I understand that Ghana said they should give them an astronomical tax or licensing fee to pay maybe $1 million naira, $1 million or something like that. And at that time, my attitude was, if you're in another country, you're there at the forbearance and the hospitality of your host. If they insist on certain conditions that are not palatable, then you pack up and you leave. The problem is Nigerians are outperforming Ghanaians in the trade sector in Ghana, and the local people don't like it. So the government has said, we're going to protect our own people. I can't fault the Ghanaian government for wanting to protect its own traders. And as a result, they put in enough onerous conditions against expatriate traders that makes it difficult for them to operate in that environment, thereby giving Ghanaian traders an opportunity. Yes, we have bilateral relations with Ghana, but at the end of the day, Ghana is a sovereign country. It can establish its own rules. My attitude is, if Nigerian traders find the tax regime, the licensing regime, or the environment generally hostile, then they have the wherewithal to relocate back to their own country and come and practice
Well, I'm not
business
sure
here,
that's
which will be to
straightforward,
our own benefit anyway, because I think Nigerian traders are very astute people who should be here adding value to our own economy.
You know, it's something that the authorities need to really look into, because some of the complaints coming through from there were suggesting some unwholesome practices, even regarding the so-called law. So they need to actually look into that and find out, look, what really is the situation here? Because remember, if you say they can just make any of those laws, there's certain context that they have to. When we shut the borders too, we saw the complaints on Ghana themselves. So those are certain things that needs to be brought to the table if some of those considerations have got to be made. But who knows what will happen moving forward. Okay, so
one thing that might also be interesting in that angle, you know, Chamberlain, is the laws that guide regional and continental trade. Remember, we're talking about AFTA, we're talking about that ECOWAS, you know, treaty and all of that. One wonders how all of this is going to play out eventually.
Well, the federal government says they're working with Nigerian traders in Ghana to try and resolve this issue and to make things work out. Definitely there's some inter-country agreements and trade agreements that dictate how people can move and what they can do and what they cannot do. So we should check to see that those are respected.
Okay, Makwe also joins in this morning. Morning, Makwe.
Good morning, gentlemen. Well, let's quickly look at the leadership for you this morning and what they have on the front page. Insecurity is on the front page for them. Shelving partisanship, PDP offers to help APC-led federal government. That's a proposal coming from the People's Democratic Party. It says, let's work together to save Nigeria. Mixed case for state police, border protection force. We're studying opposition's offer. That's according to the APC. I Am Right's PMB urges him to address agitations. I Am used to be former Senate President and also former Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And from that position, or from that, perhaps he has an understanding of what the President could be going through, and he's asked him to address the agitations. Well, it's a page 4 read for you, but what do you make of this headline when the opposition party thinks that what we're in is what needs the hands of everyone on deck? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a rather magnanimous gesture on behalf of the opposition, because the regular stance of the opposition is to argue against everything the federal government the current administration is trying to do. So for them to offer to extend a hand across the aisle, I think it's magnanimous. If it is genuine and not just political posturing, I think it is a magnanimous effort to see that we can put partisan considerations aside and put the nation first and say that we should join hands to cooperate to move the country forward. Some of the suggestions that the PDP have made are some of the things that the rest of the country is clamoring for as well: state police, better border control. And I think Nigeria is at a point now where everybody needs to join hands. I think some senior citizens have also been trying to proffer ideas. Some have suggested we should bring the youth and the elders together to sit down and discuss ways out of this insecurity mess. So anybody who has something positive to contribute should be welcomed with open arms, especially if they're coming from across the aisle, which you would expect under normal circumstances. They would be rabble-rousing against everything the federal government is trying to do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we've already seen this working across the aisle in the state, well, not the state, the national assemblies and the House of Representatives, and also in the Senate as well. In the House, it's in that they reached a unanimous verdict from what we have been able to find about the president interrogating and declaring a state of emergency on security. Do you think that gives an inkling as to the sort of cooperation that they should be looking at?
Yes, of course, because the National Assembly itself is a microcosm of the larger body of the country. And so if they're able to reach across the aisle and begin to talk about cooperation and things they can do together to address this scourge, yes, indeed, I think it is indicative of the fact that we can reach across the aisle. Opposition can work with the incumbent to fashion ways, because remember, the opposition themselves, they're Nigerians, they're part of us. They feel they know where the shoe is pinching as well. They come from our local communities, from our state, from the federal center in Abuja, so they are also as well impacted, and also hear from their constituencies as well as to some of the things that are ailing them. So if they come forward with intelligence, with ideas, with information, and all this is put together in a pot, perhaps we can begin to fashion a workable way forward for the country.
We have a number of other stories on the front page of the leadership this morning. They have this one: documentation delaying release of £4.2 million Ibori loot. That's according to Malami, Attorney General Federation. Senate queries NOA over on retired £2 billion naira. That's also there. Reps revisit abuse of expatriate quota in telecom sector. It's on the front page. But this one came like a lightning bolt out of the blue yesterday. Bill Melinda Gates divorce after 27 years. And a lot of people were just sad. At least I was sad. How did it hit you?
The rich also cry. The rich have warm blood, just as every other commoner has warm blood as well. So the issues that ail those of us at the lower rungs of the economy ail the elite as well. And the level of cooperation we've seen from Bill and Melinda in terms of supporting World Health over the years, in terms of using their wealth and their fortune and their sacred honor to try and better humanity, one would expect that they had reached a level of compatibility that would be impossible to rend. But this kind of news coming out goes to show that we're all vulnerable. No union is immutable, whether a marriage, whether a business partnership. There's no permanence, essentially. So we should make the best of what we have while we have it, because tomorrow is not assured for anyone. I think this split, I think it won't necessarily have an impact on what their foundation does for the world. In the statement they released, they pledged to continue to do the good work the foundation is doing. But nonetheless, the fact that it's a bit heartbreaking to see that such a world-renowned couple have had to go their separate ways for whatever reasons, irreconcilable differences, whatever the case may be. I think it's a good lesson to all of us.
Let's take a look at blueprints next. Insurgency. Bauchi on red alerts as Gaydam residents relocate to 4 local governments. 19 killed in Benue. Stop grandstanding. Collaborate with FG. TV youth tell Autumn. Upscale security personnel equipment. PDP urges FG. Buhari OK's National Center for Control of Small Arms. So, Bauchi on red alert. Who knows? It was Niger who raised the alarm last time out, and now you've seen this from Bauchi.
Yes, it seems that we have some IDPs crossing from Yobe into Bauchi, and they're saying Boko Haram and some other terrorists are mixing with those fleeing and using that opportunity to go into Bauchi. What sent the signal out was the fact that some MTN communication masts were damaged and vandalized, and that usually is a precursor to a terrorist attack, because
so
they try
to stop you from reaching out.
Yes, they try to disable your ability to communicate and call for help. And so they spotted that this was happening, and it sent out an alert that an attack was imminent. Then they started to notice strange people among those who are crossing the border, and that's why all of a sudden now they've identified 4 local governments in Bauchi that have now seemingly been infiltrated by terrorists. No attack has happened yet,
But you know, have you seen, because this is not the first, it's a pattern. They'll go for the power facility infrastructure, go for telecoms infrastructure, sometimes they blow up the bridges. Have you seen us making a deliberate efforts to ensure that those assets are protected?
Well, even before talking about protecting the assets, what that modus operandi tells us is that these are very professionally trained and experienced and skilled insurgents. They're not just willy-nilly a ragtag band of misfits who are just going out and causing mayhem. This is a targeted, coordinated, efficient fighting force who knows what it is doing. And so if there's already an existing pattern, then it should make it easy to be able to protect those assets, to the point that government already knows the way they go about these things. So it should be relatively easy to have a preemptive strike, to where we're already waiting for them before they come, because we know what they're going to try to disable. We know already the methodology that they use. So it shouldn't be that difficult to think ahead of them and act before they do.
Well, the Nigerian Tribune is next now and looks at this one. After 25 years, INEC to create 57,023 new polling units, battles external forces. That story is on page 22, and there's a breakdown on the front page of the paper, and one wonders how this is going to change anything. Well,
more polling booths creates greater access to vote. Part of the challenges INEC has always had is the issue of voter repression, voter suppression, accessibility to polling booths. So if they create more polling booths, it makes it easier for people to have an opportunity to vote. I don't think that necessarily is a solution to resolve some of the voting issues that we have, but I think it will also have its advantages in terms of accessibility. There are so many other things that need to be done, but one step
before
at a
this.
time. Before this, yes.
Way before this.
Yeah,
Bill,
absolutely.
for instance. So I don't know. We need to look through this.
Well, they said we're not having electronic voting in 2023, so that's one step.
What?
Yeah.
Leave it there.
Really?
We can discuss that later. Let's quickly go to Mark.
Well, let's look at the Daily Times, and then they have this one on the front page. Bandits threaten to kill 17 varsity students. That's on the front page of the Daily Times. I'm sure you must have seen that story or heard it yesterday. And these bandits have shown that, well, they've carried out a number of threats, killing 3 at first and later on 2 other students. Now we understand that they've been paid 50 million naira so far, but they're demanding more, 100 million, and they want 10 motorcycles on top of it. What are your thoughts on what should happen with these bandits, especially the ones holding the Greenfield University students? Don't forget that we also still have the ones holding the students from mechanization, Forest Mechanization Institute or so, in Africa, in Kaduna. What are your thoughts on them?
The Kaduna government maintains its position that it will not negotiate with terrorists or with bandits, and that is a standard security principle all over the world. However, I try to empathize. I put myself in the shoes of the parents of those 17 children between last night and this morning, wondering if any of them got a wink of sleep all night, knowing that their children are literally on the razor's edge. And I look at it and I say, okay, we have a policy of we don't negotiate with terrorists, but we've already paid 55 million, which is a form of negotiation already. And so we've already caved into some of their demands at this point. I think the lives of those 17 children, especially since the abductors of the Greenfield children have already shown their resolve to not give in to persuasion. They've killed 5. They first killed 3, then they killed 2. And so that means they are willing to kill more. Yes, we don't want to negotiate with terrorists because it encourages others. But once we start paying this ransom in the Greenfield case, I think the government has shown its inability to find them to bring them to book and to rescue those children. Otherwise, it would have been done by now. So at this point, there's not much we can do but try and pay that money and get those children out.
Very tough for the parents right now, but we do thank you for coming on Daya Kintobi, publisher of TSN newspapers.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Well, back in a moment. Stay with us.
Principal officers of the People's Democratic Party, including some former and serving governors of the party, are attending this news conference in Abuja to brief on the outcomes of the series of meetings the party has been holding on the rising insecurity in the country. National Chairman of the PDP, Mr. Uche Secondus, reads out the party's 8 demands for the federal government to tackle the security challenges.
We therefore demand, number 1, for the immediate upscaling of the personnel strength of our men and women in uniform. Number 2, call for the establishment of a state police. We call for the creation of national borders protection. And this is also very important.
Nigeria's rapidly deteriorating security situation is a major source of concern for many. The governor of Taraba State says the states are helpless because they do not control any security structure.
We that are managing the states are going through horrors. We that are in the state are having it difficult to explain to our people. I have had several times people come to me and say, Governor, what are you doing? They are massacring us. I tell them that I have nothing to do because there is no security under my control. They cannot understand. They find it difficult to understand. Let us wake up and do something that is sensible and reasonable.
The PDP also expresses concern over the nation's economic situation, decrying Nigeria's rising debt profile, inflation rate, and massive unemployment. Former Senate President Bukola Saraki insists that the PDP will continue to mount pressure on the government until the tide is turned.
Pressure on government eventually yields results, but we will continue to follow that through what the Constitution means, and that is why we're here today making this press conference, and that's why we'll continue to demand that the right thing is done and play our own role.
Insecurity in Nigeria takes the forms of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and arson, among others, and the situation has left many citizens in so much uncertainty.
Yes, indeed. Still keeping our tabs on developments playing itself out across the country. And we're going to start off from Abuja with this one. Mark.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Indeed, we have with us Senator Ben Obi, who is a member, National Executive Council of the People's Democratic Party. Senator, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. I'm
sure they're also greeting you right back. However, I mean, you have just not been sitting pretty, even though people would have been wondering, where has the opposition party been all of this while? Just yesterday, we saw an emergency meeting. What informed the emergency meeting?
Well, the opposition has been there. The opposition has been there, and we've been monitoring the activities of the APC-led government. And you know, the pandemic really came to every one of us, you know, like a bang, disrupted activities, Hence, we couldn't meet now and again as was proposed. But late last year, we started, of course, meeting. And for the past 2 weeks, all the organs of the party had met, from the caucus to the BOT to the National Executive Council, and we reviewed extensively the state of our nation. And it became imperative that as a party that had been in government for 16 years, vis-a-vis a party that just came into government, not familiar with how government is really run, we needed to drop, partisan politics and to come and offer a helping hand so that we can save this country together. I mean, that's what basically the assignment of a politician. A politician is supposed to be a person who has come to serve the people. Now that you see that things are completely crumbling the way it is, the state of insecurity everywhere. No part of the country is excluded now. So as a national party, a party that had been in government for 16 years, that did so much, our duty therefore is to render assistance. Say, look, you know something? Put this politics aside. Otherwise, we'll probably not even be able to go into election in 2023. But let's rescue this country together. All hands on deck. That was what really informed the party in calling for a world press conference that finally took place yesterday, and all the issues were addressed, and said, look, we are here to assist. We've done it before.
It is interesting that you say that, COVID had its own impact, and of course, naturally, it would have. I mean, fears around the health of members, of course, and then the lockdown, and then, of course, the financial state of the country as a result. But when you say that, a government that has just come into power, you have been in power, I think the emphasis is at the center. Because it's not like I said the people who are currently in government are total novices to governance and the issue of government. I mean, at the state level, at the subnational level, a lot of them have held sway. Even the president himself has once been at the helm of affairs in this country. So when you say that, you're almost babying them, as it were.
Look, we have been in government. The PDP was in government for 16 years, okay? We also found ourselves in some degree of distress when we were in government, okay? And we said it yesterday. When we were in government, there was Boko Haram everywhere, okay? It was the high commissioners and ambassadors that came to me as inter-party presidential advisor on inter-party affairs to say the political parties were politicizing Boko Haram, and that was a problem. So I went to President Jonathan. I said, this is what the ambassadors are saying. And he said, look, go and discuss this with the National Security Advisor. As a result of that, the PDP organized an all-party summit on the 12th of June, 2014. It was chaired by General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who was a former head of state. I personally went to General Muhammad Buhari, as he then was, to invite him to participate. And he did. All the parties participated. President Jonathan, who was in charge, was there. And we all signed the communique that we will no longer politicize the Boko Haram. It was strictly a security matter, not for politics. So we brought what I'm saying, we brought all the political parties on board, talked to them, convinced them that we just have to work together.
By politicizing, what precisely do you mean? Do you mean not critiquing, assuming government were to particular stance or wasn't doing enough?
the political parties were condemning the government at that time, saying that, look, we were not addressing the issue of Boko Haram, and that we know where some of them are. The intelligence gathering was not enough. But they said, no, these are terrorist organizations, and we must see them as that. So all the parties must be made to understand what Boko Haram stands to do in the country. And that was the essence of that summit. So by the time they understood that it is not for us as political parties to start, talking or playing politics with Boko Haram, that Boko Haram was a serious matter that government needed to address, and we needed to address that with the support of our other colleagues in the other political parties. Today, we are not seeing that. You don't have that. Political parties don't even meet. Recall, in the Second Republic, it was the same thing. There was tension in the land. Under President Shehu Shagari, what did he do? He invited political parties, the 6 political parties, the 3 most senior members of the 6 political parties were having meetings with him every other month. And when the meetings are held, all the service chiefs, all the security agencies were put on notice. They were very much available. So if a matter concerns the army, the chief of army staff is brought immediately. And that doused the tension. Because every political party was looking forward to the next month when they will meet with the president. And I thought that this is exactly where we will have found ourselves today. And that is what the PDP is saying, that now we need to come together and rescue this country.
So far, I mean, this, what I say, proposition came yesterday, right. Proposition to shelve partisan politics. But right. So far, have you received any response as a political party?
Not yet. Not yet. We have not. But like we said, we're going to talk to the international community. We're going to talk to our colleagues in the other parties. There is a body of political parties called the Inter-Party Advisory Council. In that Inter-Party Advisory Council, all the political parties belong. So we'll talk to their leadership. We'll talk to civil societies. We just have to put hands together and see what we can do about the state of insecurity. It's disturbing. It is worrisome.
Indeed it is. Just before now, the PDP chairman was said to have asked, we have him on tape, asking the president to declare a state of emergency on security. This proposition, is it separate to the statement of the PDP chairman asking the president to declare a state of emergency?
It is not separate. It is not separate. The statement made by the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, was a decision of the NEC, which is the highest organ of the party, that the president should declare a state of emergency and security. And it is still part of that we are saying we are also offering our own assistance to the government of the day. But look, let us try and work together. If they see us working together, the narrative will definitely change. That's what we're saying. If they see the political parties coming together, the narratives will change. But you see, when we had that successful outing of June 12, 2014, and we were going for elections in 2015, again, the tensions had mounted. Everybody thought that would be the end of Nigeria. One American agency had then said that Nigeria will go, split in 2015. Now, again, it was the ambassadors and high commissioners that came to say, look, that successful summit you did with the political parties, you need to call it again. I went back to the President Jonathan, said, this is what it is. He said, go ahead, go and meet the NSA. We did the one in 2014. Go and meet the NSA, see what you can do. Okay. That was what gave birth to what is globally referred to as the Abuja Peace Accord, where President Jonathan and Major General Muhammadu Buhari, as he then was, embraced themselves under the supervision of late Kofi Annan and Chief Emeka Anyoko. All the people we brought to participate in the January 14, 2015 party summit, were all people who served either in the United Nations or in the Commonwealth. One of my speakers at that event is the current Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, from the United Nations. The other one was General Isaac Obiako, military advisor, United Nations, the first African military advisor, United Nations. And that was to buy in the understanding and support of the other political parties so that they will not see it as partisan. I, again, on that event, went personally to General Muhammad Buhari in his Aso Drive residence to say, General, you have to attend. And he attended. He attended. Look, what is lacking really with the APC-led government is that they don't have a skipper. Simple. It's to your tents, O Israel. And at times like this, it will never work. So we are now screaming and say, listen, yes, we are opposition, you are the ruling party, but you know something? If we don't work together, we will run this country into a problem that we will regret.
So what sort of solutions are you looking at? I mean, where are you looking to offer your support to the government?
You have to sit down. But the idea is sit down first, look at the issues, put them on the table. Then you'll be able to offer advice. But in a case where you don't have the opportunity of even sitting down to discuss what has happened in Kaduna, how the Greenfield University was invaded and students taken away and then students being killed, what is happening? Some people have access to the terrorists, they speak with them, they discuss with them. So what has happened to our intelligence gathering? We have to ask questions to be able to have answers. So that's why we are saying, okay, look, we are ready. Let us dialogue, let us talk.
Do you think the problems are political, though?
Well,
because
it's difficult really to divorce politics from what's happening. It is very difficult.
Well, now that you have said that, but a lot of people will say that the scenarios that you have painted were largely political. So, for instance, the Boko Haram problem was being politicized. You spoke to the political parties. Yes. There was tension in the land ahead of the 2015 elections, which was because of all the angling around the issues that were going to come up and determine the polls in 2015. Yeah. You spoke to the political parties and the political actors again.
Correct.
However, the problems facing us right now are heavily on security and are largely existential. That's what we have been told.
Yes.
How do you think that the political parties will be able to help?
Well, you need information. You need information and you need the support of the people. I don't think they are getting the information that is required. And I don't think they are getting the cooperation of the people. You see, when the people don't give you information, these people don't just come from the moon. They don't drop from the moon. They are still within places, within areas that they do the kidnapping. They give them ransom. So they are within the society. Therefore, you need the cooperation of everybody. Now, when I talk of political parties, it is because they are the actors. They have people, they have membership, and then through that, you can also talk with the local communities and the traditional rulers. We did all of that. We did all of that. So something is just not gelling in the government of today. You see, you cannot be an island. When things get to this level, then honestly, there is an urgent need to discuss with your colleagues. To say, even if it is political, why is it political? Why are they doing what they're doing? What's the problem? And children, I mean, when it gets to a state where children now in school, parents are worried, what do we do? Now, the governor of Niger State said they are just 2 hours away from Abuja. kidnappings have increased in Abuja. The governor of Nasarawa is saying the same thing. I heard a commissioner was abducted in Kogi. So, Kogi in trouble, Nasarawa in trouble, Niger in trouble, and you have Abuja at the center. I think this is why the PDP decided to say, you know something, drop this partisanship. Let us offer hands of friendship. Let us rescue the country. That is all we're saying. In rescuing the country, you have to go, all the segments of the country today needs to be addressed. So you need people who will be able to say, all right, we have had you. Now, come, let us talk.
Let's flip this to Lagos now, and let me see. I'm sure my colleagues have questions for you.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Senator, a number of things that you have said are quite interesting, but one of them that sticks out, so many do, but one of them that sticks out is when you say that the ruling party needs a skipper. I'm wondering what that means in the context, and what would you propose as an alternative? Because you very well know, so many people have said over and over again, we all need to come together. In coming together, exactly what does that mean? Because the National Assembly is together. You just talked about an inter-party advisory council. They're already together. So what have we been missing, and what are we missing?
Thank you very much. What you are missing is somebody to coordinate these old bodies that are there from the government. And that person must have the buy-in of Mr. President. That person must be able to convince the president why the ruling party should lead the debate with political parties. It is when that is done, you can now approach the traditional institution, religious institution. Therefore, all hands will have been brought to the table. And that's what is not happening. So that skipper is somebody who, from the APC angle, will be able to speak to Mr. President, will be able to say to Mr. President, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. You have the IPAC there, you have the political parties on the IPAC, you have key stakeholders like the civil societies. You bring all of them together.
But when you say...
All the events I mentioned here, June 12th, January 14th, 2015, June 12th, 2014, all the ambassadors and high commissioners were in attendance.
Well, Senator, when you say that, we need this kind of intervention, just as you have mentioned, of course it does make a lot of sense to so many people. But then, just as you very well know, we have a National Assembly. The proposition you're making sounds like we're looking for a political solution. Are we out of options other than that? In the light of the fact that so many people have spoken at very high levels of governments across the federal and state governments, that some of these issues are politically motivated. Do you think this political intervention you are proposing will be significantly impactful?
Well, when we did the All-Party Summit in 2014, June 12th, we had the National Assembly. They were part of it. When we did the Abuja Peace Accord on the 14th of January 2015, we had the National Assembly. They were part of it. What I'm saying is that you have to have the buy-in of government in putting this thing in place. And when you have the buy-in of government, then you have the solution is almost 60-65% there. You bring in the international community, then you will start to have information. Intelligence gathering will start to come to you. And that's what we did. Look, don't forget, again, it was after the Abuja Peace Accord. The late Ban Ki-moon sent Ambassador Ibn Chambers, who was his envoy in West Africa, to come to Abuja here to come and congratulate me and ask me to set up the National Peace Committee. Again, it was President Jonathan who said, go ahead and do that. That is how I got in touch with Bishop Hassan Kuka. And we went to John Cardinal Onayeko. That was how that body was set up, and made General Abdulsalam Abubakar the chairman, made Ebitu Kiwe the deputy chairman, with 23 eminent Nigerians. And we were interfacing with both the General Buhari and President Jonathan. Until President Buhari took over, we continued. And so after we left government, I quietly stepped aside. So you must interface. We are in a democracy. That's the first thing to understand. We are in a democracy. And the democracy is being run by persons in political parties. So you need them, you need them, you need them, you need them.
Well, Senator, does the PDP really think that the APC will sit down with them and sort some of these things out? Because you have people who will seek some political gain or capital out of this, thinking that this will make the APC weaker if they were to at least take a look at some of the options or consider the option that the PDP is presenting. Wouldn't that be some sort of obstacle in the way, knowing how politics is played here?
Well, we didn't see that as an obstacle in 2014, neither did we see that as an obstacle in 2015, and it worked. So I don't know why they will think it's going to be an obstacle for them. I doubt, but they need to think about it. They need to say, look, it is not a great gift. We just have to sit down together. Set up a committee. Set up a committee. Meet with the political parties so that you can hear them. I mean, when you judge, you get better results. At times like this, you cannot just be an island. You can't.
All right, there are just a couple of more issues, but just give us a moment. We'll be back.
The constant touch with troops and their commanders in the field is of essence for every military operation, especially in a counterinsurgency environment. The essence is to reassure the troops, get to hear from them if they do have issues they want us to discuss. It could border on logistics, it could border on deployment, and then reassure them that Mr. President is aware, Commander-in-Chief is aware of all they are doing here, and he will do his best to provide the needed resources to execute this war to a logical conclusion. This indeed is not just this theater, any other theater that the Nigerian army is operating in. We have defeated Boko Haram severally. If for one time they came and we lose certain equipments, even though we were never defeated, I can assure you that we'll overcome, notwithstanding whatever had happened. We will take on Boko Haram decisively, and we are committed to the focus of the entire operation, which is the total annihilation of Boko Haram from Nigeria.
Welcome back. Well, Senator, in addition to those suggestions, in fact, when the state police option came across, it's a conversation that has been on for a while in this country, and lawyers, they've spoken severally about that. Is it that it is the president's call to do that and not that of the National Assembly, because it's got to do with our laws, the Constitution, actually?
Well, if you listened to the national chairman of the PDP, Prince Uche Secondus, in his statement yesterday, he did call on the governors, the leadership of the National Assembly, the speaker of the state houses of the speakers of the state houses of assembly, to come together and address the issue of the state police. So we're not saying you have to ignore anybody. All the important organs that are responsible for creating the state police must come together in a summit and agree to creating a state police. So it's very clearly put out there.
Is the recommendation about funding the Border Patrol Squad?
Sorry?
What's the recommendation regarding funding the Border Patrol Squad that was suggested by the party?
Well, we said our borders are very porous, so we need to create a border protection agency. Now, to do that, of course, it has to go through the National Assembly. It has to go through the process of enacting put an act to create such an agency. So once they do that, of course, they will also create the funding for it. But it is clear to us, very, very clear, that our borders are quite porous. And even one of the leaders of the PDP, the former national acting national chairman, before he crossed over to the APC, did say sometime that they imported people from neighboring countries for the elections in 2015. He was also a leader of the APC that has now come back again to the PDP. He said they imported people, and nobody has challenged them up to today.
But Senator Bear,
so these are the things. This is why you will know.
That's curious, knowing that we already have an agency that is whose charge that is supposed to be to ensure that such things do not happen. We have, of course, the Immigration Service, we have the Customs Service. So for such a thing to happen under their watch, and nothing is done about that one, it is curious. You may want to add to that how the functions of the Border Protection Squad that your party is suggesting, how their function will will line up with the functions of the established Immigration Service that we already have and the Customs Service as well.
Well, it's going to be a synergy. But see, for now, what you have to boost what you have until you create the Border Protection Agency, which will be a creation of the Parliament. But for now, what you have, you just have to understand that something is not gelling there, something is wrong within the borders. That people just walk in and out of our country, which is what Alhaji Baraje said. But look, all I have been trying to make you understand by the outcome of our World Press conference yesterday is that what we are all doing is to your tents, O Israel. And that is just not helpful to this country. It is not helpful. Politicians have disappointed the peoples of this country. It is time that we come together as responsible people, drop our partisanship, come together as responsible people, and address the issues facing us in this country. Now, one thing I didn't say was that every summit that took place in 2014 and 2015 was in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor. So at all times, you had the echelon of the security involved, hand in gloves with the political parties. So it was always easy to sort things out.
Senator, one other thing that may also be in consideration here is the plethora of, well, a good number of people that have said over and over again, including government officials, that's a sizable quantum of the responsibility on our hands now in terms of insecurity is due to economic inequality, unemployment, poverty, and the rest of that. And one wonders how all of these can be addressed within the shortest possible time to address the challenge of the insecurity that we're having on our hands, because it's one hand to have all of this talk shop, it's another hand altogether to take the issues down to the people exactly where they are.
Look, it was also addressed in the press statement yesterday that all of this state of insecurity is also being built up by the unemployment of hundreds and thousands of our youths who are there doing nothing, just being taken over by bandits, you know, putting them in their team and then creating all of this havoc here, there, and yonder, because they are jobless. Somebody is prepared to go for a suicide mission with 5,000 naira or even 3,000 naira because he has nothing to do. And what does he lose? Nothing. So the important thing, the stage is that the real problem is that we are not talking. We are not talking. Our people are dying. Our people are being kidnapped. Our women are raped. We are not talking.
Senator, you know, some people might say that, okay, it's possible that the APC has not been speaking, or the government at the center has not been speaking with the with the political parties, with the PDP, as it were, even more particularly. However, there's been conversation. There's conversation at the National Economic Council, which is peopled by the federal government and the 36 governors from the different states, in addition to other actors, and that if there have been problems in states, in whatever states that those problems have happened, regardless of whether they be APC or PDP or any other political parties, we've seen the governors from those states take their problems to the villa. There have been national security meetings being held. You know, there has been enough room for jaw. Why do you think that they haven't yielded much fruit?
How many political parties are amongst the governors you just mentioned that are attending the Economic Council? Who are the people attending the Security Council meetings? If you may tell me. Okay. You should know.
You think that it's about the number of political parties?
I'm saying that you need all hands on deck. That governors come to National Economic Council meeting with the Vice President and go, that's not the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is that you need the buy. Look, before INEC, all political parties are equal. As long as you're a registered political party, your ADC, you're the same level with APC, PDP before INEC. So when you're doing anything, as long as they are registered political parties, their opinion also matter. And that's what I've been saying. So how many political parties have governors?
So yes, indeed. You know, I'm not trying to say that the opinion of other political parties do not matter. However, has there been any solution that has been brought forward that you do not agree with, or are there things or matters that have come to the fore?
Have they brought any solutions to us, to the public, about what they need the public to buy into? So
isn't that what the PDP should be questioning?
That's why we're calling for a summit. That's why so that everybody will sit down together on the round table and agree on these issues. All of us will sit down, look at them, and say, look, you know something? This is wrong. You tell them to their faces. And that may change the narrative.
Is there a precedence for this anywhere?
Sorry?
Is there a precedence for what the PDP is suggesting?
I just ruled them out now.
Where? No. This is different. I mean, where the government of the day calls on political parties, that's different. But where an opposition party comes out to say, hey, look, we're shoving partisan politics, we're up for talks. Is there a precedence for that anywhere?
It is for the government of the day to say, yes, we agree. Look, when we had the working committee, the caretaker committee of the PDP, under the chairmanship of His Excellency Senator McAfee, and I was the National Secretary, President Buhari was away in London for treatment. the PDP had it as a matter of policy for every public engagement to pray for the quick recovery of Mr. President. And when he finally got back, Senator McAfee said, I should speak to the Chief of Staff. Since we've been praying for him to get well quick, and he's back and in the country, that I should speak to the Chief of Staff so that we'll come and say to him, Mr. President, you're welcome. Thank God you're fine now. Please face the duty of which Nigerians elected you. Run the country. I called late Abakari. And he came back to me in 1 hour and said, the President will be seeing the PDP tomorrow, 1 p.m. By 11:45 p.m., Malam Abakari called me back and said, look, sir, I hope you don't mind. Can we include the APC? I said to him, the more the merrier. That visit took place, the APC was there and the PDP. It wasn't an APC idea. It was our own idea. And we did that believing that that would be the opportunity for which the President will now use in meeting once in a while with political parties. The kind of thing which I said to you, President Shehu Shagari did in the Second Republic.
But that hasn't happened.
Well,
Senator, what would you say to those who say this is just because? I mean, I have had cause to interrogate why it would seem that the PDP has been a bit cold in opposition. And some people say, I mean, one of your members says it's because it's in your DNA that you do not exactly know how to be an opposition party. You were formed and you came into government, and that's how you know how to be in government. You think that this is also because you're at sea on how to play this opposition politics?
you see, the PDP has been speaking, but the truth of the matter is now that we see things are going terribly bad, we have to wake up and wake up more seriously to the responsibilities of being a leader of the opposition. And we spoke to ourselves. After we spoke to ourselves frankly, understanding that yes, we have been in opposition, we have been playing the role, but we have not done much that is expected of us. And yet we know what we can do. We know that the PDP is the largest political party in Africa. It is still the largest. There's nowhere you go to in this country, nowhere, that you will not find the PDP. It's not the same thing with the APC. So now, if we do not do what we are doing now, to tackle the issues on ground now, between now and the next 1 year, we'll have problems in going to elections in 2023. And I pray we don't have that. I pray we don't run into that kind of crisis.
It's not because you're at sea on how to play the opposition politics.
Sorry?
It's not because you're lost on how to play the opposition politics.
No. You see, that is why we are bringing in our matured experience. That is what we are bringing to the table. You know, we don't want to say, oh, we are better than you, we are bigger than you. No. Let's drop that. Let's look eyeball to eyeball, look and ask ourselves, what are we not doing right? How did we get to this stage? All right, we're all Nigerians, first and foremost.
Well, Senator, we'll see how that proposition is received by the APC, if there'll be a response from the federal government, because your proposition is to the APC-led federal government. We do not know if they as a political party will respond, or the government itself will respond. And we'll also see how individual members of the APC will also take it. But we have to thank you for sharing your thoughts and sharing more light on the World Press Conference which you held yesterday.
Thank you very much.
Senator Ben Obi is a member of the National Executive Council of the People's Democratic Party. Sunrise Daily will take a moment and we'll be back with another guest. Please stay with us.
Welcome back, well, yes, as you've seen there, we've got His Excellency Yaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, joining us next. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, first of all, commiserations on the loss of your commissioner, but could you tell us, what is the latest scenario regarding that matter today?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chamberlain, and all of your other crew members. And good morning to Nigerians and viewers across the world. It's most unfortunate what happened, to my commissioner, one of my commissioners of Pension Commission. Well, it's most unfortunate that that incident happened. We've always given some security tips and advice to my commissioners, government officials, and citizens of Kogi State regarding what to do in terms of security, and sometimes they flout it, and hence what happened. The latest of what is most unfortunate, and I commiserate with the family and the good people of Kogi State and his loved ones. The latest of it all is that the law enforcement agencies are trying their best to ensure that the perpetrators, are brought to justice. And also that the Honorable Commissioner, the chairman of the Yagba West local government, who was abducted, is rescued unharmed. The challenge we are facing now is that the crime was committed, across border, that is in the other territory. And then our security agencies, collaborating with other security agencies from the neighboring state where the incident happened, are trying, their best to ensure that the captive is rescued, unharmed. And then we'll have to rescue the chairman first before we now go on hunting for the criminals. That is the latest for now.
Has there been any demand whatsoever?
To the best of my knowledge, the law enforcement agencies are doing their best to make sure that they rescue the captive. Right now, I am not aware of any demand, from the captive, from the abductors.
Okay, well, we'll still come to that, because there are reports that some of those bandits have made demands of the government, knowing who the person is. And so is it that no word whatsoever from any quarters to you or to the police about any of such demands, as is being reported?
Well, I think we have to be a bit careful about this issue of abduction, demands, paying ransom. Everybody knows my position when it comes to the issue of abduction. Remember, I was once a victim. A mother of blessed memory was once kidnapped from her home, and she spent 93 days in captivity. And I've always warned anybody and everybody that are close to me or who cares to understand that you make yourself vulnerable to the kidnappers. You may have to spend up to 93 days before I will look your way. However, in Kogi State here today, we don't negotiate with abductors. We don't negotiate with bandits. We don't negotiate with kidnappers. And I want to assure you that we are going to rescue the chairman of Yagba West local government unharmed or without paying a dime.
Well, how is the PDP, how is your party, or what do you think about the recommendations of the PDP concerning the rising insecurity in the country?
My party is the All Progressives Congress, APC, the ruling party, not PDP. Well, PDP may have their own idea of what is happening in the country today, but I must let you know that what is happening today in the country, like never before, is majorly political. Majorly political. But it is just unfortunate that after playing this politics, we will have a country that we call our own. Our politics should not transcend to the issue of insecurity that we're facing in this country today. Insecurity is insecurity. Criminality is criminality. Let's treat it as such and take politics out of it.
Well, from the word that we hear from the PDP, it's like, you know, the party is calling for all hands to be on deck, more like saying, let's all work together because we need to be Nigerians first before we are members of any political party. So how is that playing politics?
I sincerely appreciate that. But, you know, most times when you call PDP, you call APC, you know, that is politics already in play, but we call on Nigerians, that is Nigerians. We're faced with insecurity at hand. Let's all Nigerians come on board and let's find solution to this problem. But let's rule out or take out issue of political affiliation, religious sentiment, and ethnicity out of this insecurity that we're facing, you know, today.
So when you say it's political, is it that when another member of another political party comes up with any suggestion, if it's not coming from the APC, then it is political?
Not just when it comes from an opposition political party. Let me tell you that even from within APC, there are oppositions. Let me tell you the fact. Everybody knows me to say the truth. Even from within APC, there are elements who would not want this country to live in peace simply because of quest for power. And I think we should rise above that. All I will simply tell Nigerians is to open their eyes. Like I always say, please shine your eye. 2023 is by the corner. And a lot of elements are up there trying to cause disaffection within the society. For instance, what is happening in Kogi, what happened, recently, across border from my neighboring state, where Commissioner of Pension Commission was killed and then my chairman was abducted. We are gathering our facts and intelligence, where such, plans were hatched to destabilize or bring insecurity to the most secured state in this country in order to discredit our modest achievement in terms of security. And I think it transcends the issue of political party, whether opposition or within APC. So that is why I said, let's take politics out of it. Let's take political affiliation out of it. Those that are perpetrating crimes and criminality will face justice. We are gathering our facts, we are gathering our intelligence, and nobody tries us here in Kogi State and goes scot-free under my watch. We are going to crush the criminals. We will go after their planners or those who orchestrate this act. And those that are fanning or fueling it in the media, either by deliberate act or whatever. And by the grace of God, Nigerians are going to see action very soon from us here.
Was Senator Smart Adeyemi being political on the floor of the House with his concerns which he raised?
Senator Smart is a citizen of Nigeria. He's a concerned citizen, and he's free to express his own wish. His opinion on the floor of the Senate, and he's entitled to his own opinion as well.
So, does that mean you consider that political?
Senator Smart, if everybody, those that knows Senator Smart know that Senator Smart speaks frankly from his heart. He doesn't play politics with insecurity. So it depends on everyone's level of tolerance or absorption or maybe emotion. One can express it loudly more in some fora, some can express it mildly. I think the issue of insecurity touched Senator Smart, and he has come out to express it the way he knows best. So I will rule out politics out of it.
But the same views he expressed is the same views that other members of other political parties are expressing. So it's a difference because he's in the APC and others are not in the APC.
That is why I said, let's rule out politics. Senator Smart is of the APC, and he has expressed his own opinion, his mind, frankly, devoid of political affiliation. So let's leave politics completely out of issue of insecurity as expressed by Nigerians.
All right, Your Excellency. We'll be back in just a moment. Please stay with us.
When people who are working with you believe that you can't be manipulated, they capitalize on that. Right? They capitalize on that. Hey, if they know, then look, be careful. He gets information everywhere. They will sit down and sit up and say, look, let's not do this. It is important not to say I'm committed. It's important for you to be committed, to be seen to be committed. I was surprised when I was watching the television, when the House of Reps invited the Chief of Army Staff about the purchase of weapons. And he said, look, you know the right people to ask. And you remember there was a time $1 billion was taken from the Essence Crude account to provide for security. And it tells me, if I should release that money as the chief executive, the chief security officer, knowing how Nigeria is, I will make sure that those weapons were bought. And the right ones were bought. You have to take leadership. I couldn't have released $1 billion. And then nobody can show me those equipments. Even if those who are at the health affairs of security, they have left, the onus is on you. You can still summon them back. Where are the equipments that we bought?
Thanks for staying with us. Your Excellency, you know, so many people on all sides of the divide have continued to point to a core issue as reason for the exacerbating insecurity. For instance, we have had people who have said over and over again that these bandits, even Boko Haram, the insurgents, were recruited and baited with money. Just last week, we heard a report from a local government that people were being baited with 20,000 naira each to come and join the insurgents. Now, this is speaking to just one thing that a number of people have said, and you may agree as well, that insecurity is a major catalyst. Beg your pardon, unemployment is a major catalyst to this insecurity. Where do you stand on that? And for God's sake, how is governments, whether at the federal level or at the state level, addressing this?
Thank you very much. Let me address this particular question or statement holistically. And please, let's take out politics, party, or anything out of this. Yes, so many people have been alluding to all of this. But let me tell Nigerians that we are confronted with problems. When a problem arises, we look at the genesis of the problem, if we really want to solve that problem. Let's look into the genesis of Boko Haram and tackle it from there. Those that have hands in Boko Haram. That is number one. Number two, bandits and all other crimes, unemployment, and what should be done. Because that is what we should be looking forward to. Yes, first of all, what should be done is to ensure that we have sincere leadership at all levels. Sincere leadership, sincere leaders. Today, a lot of puzzles that are ongoing today, and not by Nigerians, but by leaders that we have in this country. Leadership at all levels, when I say leadership at all levels, not just at federal government, state government, or those in authorities today, but those of us that are even our private offices, that our families look up to, we are in leadership position. The imams, the traditional rulers, and everybody we should come up and be sincere with Nigerians. We're talking of unemployment. Let me take Kogi State, for instance. We have, as much as possible, engaged youths and women in governance today. Let me not go into achievements or what I've been able to achieve. They are there in records for anybody who wants to know the reality to come and verify and have it. Let me still remain in Kogi State here. We have a steel complex called Ajakuta. We know how much of these youths and able-bodied men and women will be recruited and taken off the streets. We have the inland ports that were started during President Yar'Adua, whereby the River Niger should have been dredged up to Lokoja here, up to Baru, and across to the other eastern flank. What happened to them? Where are the monies budgeted? Where are the monies that were voted for them? Ajakuta is still there. Mr. President have to even travel to Russia to ensure that Ajakuta is functional. Committees were set up. What is happening? We have the issue of our internal roads, whereby just 2 trillion was supposed to be used to ensure that we have super highways across this country, especially the commercial viable ones. The report is still gathering dust today. We have several of such infrastructures lying down. Mr. President came up with the issue of a hydro dam in Mambila, where by now we're expecting that the project should have gone far. And we have a Ajakuta here that should have rolled out the iron rods that are required. We have the cement here in Kogi State and across the country that should have been used. What is happening to that? We have the issue of our power that should have been fixed. A lot of funds were swindled in the past. Up to now, nobody is talking about that. You see, my dear brother, when we want to talk about taking these youths off the street, reduce the criminality, banditry, and all forms of crimes, let's take it from leadership, from the current one, from the previous up to the current. Mr. President have come and he has done his best, came up with laudable programs and projects that should have been followed through. Those that are responsible or charged with that trust, how far have they discharged their responsibilities today? You know, so if we're talking of insecurity today, there are several, causes of it. Let's take them from the grassroots or from where they all started from. Let's fix Ajakuta. Let's dredge River Niger. Let's ensure that that particular report of Governor El-Rufai committee is acted upon. Let's engage Nigerian youths. And then I want to believe. And above all, my dear brother, I want to believe that Mr. President is listening. We all know that Mr. President loves Nigeria and loves Nigerian youths a lot. Our leaders have misled us before today. Mr. President have decided to ensure that youths come on board and hence signing the Not Too Young to Run bill. And even ensuring that younger generations are given positions of authorities. You see the EFCC boss right now. It is time that we allow the younger generation to take charge and fix this country. If our leaders and our elders and seniors have failed us, we, the younger generation, should not fail ourselves. Let our attention not be diverted on issue of insecurity and some other mundane issues. We should call ourselves together as Nigerians, energetic, forcefully, and let's fix this country. The opportunity is presenting itself. It's just a matter of days, weeks, and months away. I believe we should be able to get this country fixed.
Well, at the moment, the unemployment rates, I mean, if you look at the figures from Q4 of 2020, it was 33.3%. Inflation rate, the highest in recent history, 17%. Poverty rate, 42.5%, the highest in recent history. 105 million Nigerians said to be poor in 2020. That's according to the World Poverty Clock. 6 years into this administration, these are the figures that we are confronted with. So are you suggesting, because you said we need sincerity at all levels of government, does that suggest that there are elements within the party who are not sincere, and as a result of that, things are going south, hence these kind of figures being posted?
All the figures that have been posted are as a result of the negative effect of maladministration before now, and they are all effects of insincerity as we have it today, and insincerity cut across board, not just within a political party, not just at federal government level, not just at state level or local government level, insincerity across board, especially from the point of our leadership and our elites.
Is that also suggesting that governors are not being sincere? Because the figures that Chamberlain just quoted is an aggregate of what's happening across all states of the Federation, be it the unemployment figures, the poverty figures, and the rest of them. Is that suggesting that the governors are not being sincere?
Governors are doing their best to ensure that they deliver governance, good governance, in their various states. I think let every citizen hold their government accountable.
So then who is being insincere? Because on the one hand, you said that the president is doing his best. The governors, from what you have said now, they're doing their best. And yet these figures are there. And the buck stops at these 37 tables.
I have just ruled out some of the projects that are abandoned or that are stagnated to you today. Who are those responsible? Is it Mr. President that is going to dredge all the rivers, or the governors? Is it the president or that is coming to, when he has gone to Russia, came back and put up a committee together to work and then do something regarding the Ajakuta Steel Complex? Will you put the blame on Mr. President or I as the governor of Kogi State? Will you put the blame of not dredging the river Niger on Mr. President when there are ministries and parastatals that should handle this particular all-important project? I think these are the things we should look at. Instead of blaming, blaming Mr. President for what he has not done and whatever, and even on what he has done and come out sincerely to hire people he believes could do the job, and the jobs are not done. I think we should know where to put the blames and then how to quickly, call a spade and ensure that things are done properly.
So, if you want us to put the blame for the non-execution or carrying on with the programs and plans to get Ajakuta work, which is under the Ministry of Mines and Steel, I believe, so you're indicting the minister in this regard, and then that of transport, you talked about several other things, but the president was elected. These other officials are appointed. The buck stops at his table. So if those who he appointed are not performing, how then do we shift the buck to those who are appointed and not to the person who was elected? Would you do that as a governor, blame commissioners for what you were elected to perform?
If I hire a commissioner and he's not doing what he's supposed to do, I will fire him. Please just permit me to stop at this point.
But at the moment, in other words, the president should have done the same thing.
When I become the president, I'll know what to do. By the grace of God.
You just gave an example of what should have been done. The right thing should have been done, I believe. So there's no gainsaying that that should be the right thing. In other words, that is what he should have done. That's what you're suggesting.
I am not Mr. President's chief of staff. I am not Mr. President's advisor. I'm a governor. I am elected to govern Kogi State. And I will tell you what I will do or what I will do as a governor. And when I become president, what I will do by the grace of God.
All right, Mark has got some questions as well. Mark.
You know, interestingly, Kogi State doesn't exist in a vacuum. I mean, it exists in Nigeria as an entity, and whatever happens at the national level, even if Kogi State, was top-notch in all of the statistics, and it is not, when it comes to the national aggregate, if all the other states or the federal government isn't doing well, Kogi states will definitely be dragged down, and it will not shine as it ought to, you know, when it comes to collating the national average. But let's put that aside now. You've said that young people should not be distracted about the insecurity situation in the country. They should, you know, look away and get together and, you know, plan their future. The question is, who isn't distracted about the current security situation? Those who know have said the problem that we face is an existential problem, is a problem that threatens not just the unity of Nigeria, but Nigeria as a sovereign state. Have we been able to wake up to the urgency and the emergency that faces us as a country?
First of all, Kogi State have performed creditably well in all of the indices that has been rolled out just now. And we are not rating ourselves. Both national and international rating bodies have rated us. And within the limits of our resources and opportunities and the various challenges that we have faced, I think we have done well in that aspect. Now, yes, very well, all the problems that are facing us today, insecurity and several others, are problems that affected our existence. What I will simply urge each and every one of us, including you, Malpe, is that, yes, it didn't just start today. It has been existing. We shouldn't dwell much and listen much to those who have brought us to where we are today. We should look into everyone's record, those who will speak and who will act. And we as the younger generation who have the future, currently and the future, should be able to put ourselves together and take this country and fix it. If we continue to dwell and we allow those that have brought us to where we are today to continue to distract us, then we'll set our eyes will be off the ball. Let's refuse to be distracted, put our eyes on the ball and get it right in a few months to come. That is where that's my position.
You know, young people would really love to do that. I mean, and where they have done that, they have thrived. If you take a look at, say, the entertainment sector, where they have taken matters into their own hands and there have been no restrictions, we can see what is happening in the entertainment sector. However, it would seem that in some other sectors, hard as they might try, you know, they're affected. There is no way that you can just go on as if the security situation in the country does not exist. For those young people who are trying to get an education, who have been kidnapped in the many schools that, you know, have been affected by kidnappings from Zamfara to Niger to Katsina to Borno, they cannot just go on with their lives. Those who have now been killed they cannot go on with their lives. So these issues are there. And then when you look at the protest that was put up by young people late last year, the End SARS movement, protesting police brutality, especially for those who are trying to get on in the ICT sector. Yes, there are people who are doing fraud, but not everybody, as we have been rightly told, not everybody who is carrying a backpack or you know, carrying a laptop is into fraud. There are those who are actually making this country soar in ICT. The question is, what changes have we put in place when young people have complained? Have people who should really be at the helm of affairs and take charge of the complaint, have they really done as they ought to by these young people when they try to make a way for themselves, regardless of what you call distractions?
Thank you very much. You have, laid the question and even provided the answer in a way. It's unfortunate that all of these incidents happen in the various states where, kidnappings and all forms of crimes are committed against humanity, especially against the younger generations and the future generations. Now, the opportunity, the chance for us to take control Just like opportunities were provided, in one way or the other for in the entertainment industry, in creative industry, and what have you, the opportunity has presented itself again by Mr. President signing the Not Too Young to Run bill. The opportunity has presented itself again by my political party calling on younger generations and women to register and take their destinies in their hands. The opportunity is presenting itself again in this very near future to come up with younger, vibrant, agile, resourceful, and useful leaders in order that we can take take charge of our lives and fix this country. Anything fall short of that, we will spell doom for ourselves. I want to believe that Nigerians, and especially the younger generation are listening to me now, we should not allow what our leaders, some of our leaders that are beating drums for war and crisis, left, right, center, we shouldn't allow it to get into our ears. Whether you are Igbo, you are Hausa, you are Yoruba, you are every other ethnic nationality, we should look inward and really think deep. Where we are today, we didn't impose this on ourselves. Some leaders in this country, some elders in this country brought us to where we are today. There are objective ones. There are those who are really up to ensure that they assist us. We must be able to fast now. We must be able to hold our tummy, strive, and hold on and ensure that we bring ourselves on board. We shouldn't be distracted once again by ethnic sentiment, by religious sentiment, by sectional sentiment that has divided us all along to come on board once again this time around. We must be able to say we are Nigerians. If all of these ethnic champions are, speaking for themselves, who will speak for Nigeria? Let the youth and women speak for Nigeria. And I am urging all of you, including Chamberlain, including Maokwe, including all of you, Okikiolu, all of you, who really want this country great, to please come on board. Support the younger generation. Support the objective Nigerians to ensure that we end this game that has been played, since 1960 up to this moment. Let's end this game because it has not yielded anything. We must be able to come on board now and fix this country by bringing people that are sincere, energetic, and ready to fix the country. And let's take our destinies in our hands.
Well, at least the little I know of my colleagues, I think they can do anything to ensure that young people just get their rightful place and get the best of performance for any young, sincere person out there. They will always do that. But we'll be back in just a moment. Just a couple of more questions. Don't go away.
For the set of this committee to begin to look into ways on how to address and tackle the situation where we find ourselves. And it is in the context of these prevailing realities that the House of Representatives has appointed this special committee to undertake a comprehensive study of the issues and challenges of our national security from the perspective of the legislature. And at the end of it, recommend innovative, practical solutions that can help to relieve us of our present national security and challenges. There is therefore a clear and urgent need to take all necessary actions across the different arms and levels of government to articulate solutions to ensure an effective response to the challenges we face. In doing this, we must recognize the need to proceed with caution and wisdom so that as we respond to existing problems, we do not further compound them or create new difficulties.
Welcome back. Well, Your Excellency, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not happy with the way things are turning out or playing out at the moment in the country, but incidentally, your party happened to have been steering the ship of state for 6 years on running now. But there's this comment coming through from, I believe, is a resident of your state. He says there's daily kidnapping between Kaba and Ogaminana Junction by herdsmen, particularly Okedayo Link Point in Kogi. Why are you not saying or doing anything about it?
I will first of all reiterate that Kogi State is still the safest state in Nigeria today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that there are no pockets of issues that we are grappling with. And like I always say, they will come in their numbers, but they will never return back, especially the criminals. Yes, there are some notorious, spots in the states. The area he, just painted now, I think he tried to just over-exaggerate. Not on daily basis. I think the media should have carried it. The law enforcement agencies are there, the security agencies are there to have reported that. So I think sometimes we citizens, we tend to overhype certain things. I don't know what we tend to gain out of it. Yes, there are pockets of issues from, here and there. And then at any point in time it happened, we tackle it. I'll give you an example. One of our party officials, father was kidnapped, about 5 days ago. In less than 48 hours, we recovered the old man, and all of those that were involved in this the dastard act, were brought to justice. Now, if you're talking of my party being in charge, since for the past 6 years, yes, APC has been in charge of Nigeria or the government. We have recorded huge successes in various other areas, even including this insecurity. Daily bombings are no longer happening. And when you talk of this banditry and kidnapping, or some of these skirmishes, predates even the formation of APC. So APC, inherited the challenge, and we're doing our best to ensure that the challenge, are reduced to the barest minimum. So we shouldn't just limit it to APC, and that's why I continue to say that, look, the challenges that have faced this country today, we should take it off partisan politics or political parties, and let's put our hands on deck to solve this problem. APC's successes today within 6 years outnumber or outweighs the performance or successes of PDP for 16 years that they ruled. The statistics are there. If the Honorable Minister of Information is not saying it, I want to believe that very soon we will articulate all of this and remind Nigerians of where APC inherited Nigeria and where we are today. So we shouldn't ascribe it to issue of political party. Of course, within our party there are those that are not, are not pulling their weight the way it should be. So it is, in all other political parties, or even when PDP were in power. But largely, APC have performed beyond what PDP, achieved in their 16 years of governance in Nigeria.
Well, you started out with saying let's not be political about it, but here you are being political about the security situation in the country. So how then you're not taking your own advice?
I am not being political, Chamberlain. I have said it that, look, let's set aside issue of politics.
Yeah, but we just read out the figures. The figures are at a record high. The unemployment figures, the inflation rate, the poverty rate. These are record highs at this time.
See, Chamberlain, let's even subject those numbers, these figures. Let's subject them to scrutiny. How are we? I mean, how credible are some of these figures? We should be able to
from the World Poverty Clock and the National Bureau of Statistics.
How many of us have were contacted? What are the parameters that they use? What are the criteria that they use in even coming up with some of these figures? See, Chamberlain, let me tell you, 2023 is by the corner. Let me tell you the reality. Let me come out very, very, very practical. 2023 is by the corner. Some people are engineering some of these numbers in order to discredit the government of the day. For whatever reason, I don't know.
So do you have an alternative figure?
There are some
alternative figures
that were reported of even Kogi State. There are some numbers that were reported of even of Kogi State that I have on top in front of me that were completely at variance with what was being published by one of these rating bodies within the country. And let me tell you that what we are facing today, the challenges we are facing today, is not even just local alone.
Okay, we need to wind down, but does that suggest, are you suggesting that the figures from the World Poverty Clock about Nigeria are not correct?
Who are those that came to do the study? Where did they visit? Did they visit every household?
So the figures for you are not correct?
I will query it.
All right, Your Excellency, Yaya Bello, Governor of Kogi State, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, then. Well, that is the show today. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Ayo Makire. Have a wonderful day and please keep safe.
Well, we say our messages. Thank you for sending them in. We hope to take them sometime. I'm Maukpe Ogun Yusuf.